Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah ma ba'd. The question is asking, what is the difference between wajib and fard? Now this is a question which is connected to fiqh and usul al-fiqh. There is no action in your life except that is bound by one of these five rulings. Either it is wajib, which is obligatory, mustahab, which is recommended, mubah, permitted, makruh, disliked, haram, forbidden. And this is the view of the majority. All of our actions are bound by these five rulings. So something will fall into wajib, something will fall into mustahab, something into makruh, something into haram, and something into mubah. The Hanafi scholars have split it into 7, not 5. So they've got the 5 that we just mentioned. As for makruh, they split it into 2. Makruh at-tahrimi wa makruh at-tanzihi. So makruh, which is haram, disliked, which is haram, and disliked, which is disliked. And they split up obligatory into Fardh and Wajib. Both of them are obligatory, but one is Fardh and one is Wajib. What's the difference in the Hanafi madhab? The Hanafi madhab, from their usul, they have come to the conclusion that whatever is explicit and objective, we will call that Fardh, and we will call that haram. Whatever we deduce out of ijtihad to come to a ruling of obligatory or forbidden, we will call it Wajib, or we will call it makruh at-tahrimi. For example, smoking. Is there anything clear from the Kitab and the Sunnah about smoking that is haram? Nothing. You will not find one ayah, you will not find one hadith or one athar, because smoking didn't exist at that time. So now it requires ijtihad. Therefore, many of the contemporary Hanafi ulama, they have said that smoking is makruh at-tahrimi. It's makruh, but it's the haram kind of makruh, it's the haram kind of dislike. And the reason why we use that as a terminology is because of the fact that it requires ijtihad. What about the 5 daily prayers? Is that fard or wajib? That is fard, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands it in His book. So there is clear, objective, direct instruction for us to pray. So then this is fard. As for the witr, as for the Eid prayers, they will say that this is wajib. Why? Because we have come to the conclusion of it being wajib, although there might not be something which is direct and objective from the Kitab and the Sunnah to say that it's obligatory. Udhiyah, Qurbani, is that fard or is it wajib? According to them, it is wajib. Because again, it requires ijtihad and it is not a clear directive. Therefore, the Hanafi ulama have split it into 7. And this is what the difference is with them. As for the majority of the ulama, they have said that there is no difference. And the reason why, and their evidence, is because in the Kitab and the Sunnah, there are different terminologies that are used to refer to something as being, or placing a ruling on something which is obligatory. So the word fard is used sometimes. Sometimes the word wajib is used. Wajaba or wajib. Wajib al-ghusl, as we find in certain narrations. The word hatm, كان على ربك حتما مقضيا. Hatama is another way of us knowing something is wajib. So passing over the sirat is something which is binding, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, using the word hatam in Surah Maryam. Kataba or kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Siyam has been prescribed for you, meaning has been obligated upon you. So these are all words, this is the view of the majority, these are all words which are synonymous with one another. Therefore, whether we use fard or wajib, it makes no real difference, because of the fact that all of it refers to the ruling which is obligatory. But also in the Kitab of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the beginning of Surah An-Nur. Now Surah An-Nur, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word fard, and then He explains and describes to us the different forms of capital punishment, whether for zina or whether for slandering, etc. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word fard. This is despite the fact that sometimes the application of the capital punishment would require ijtihad. So if ijtihad reduces the level of obligation to something which is wajib, then why is the word fard being used here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Suratun, a surah in the Quran, a chapter in the Quran, أنزلناها وفرضناها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed this surah and has made it obligatory within it. وَأَنزَلْنَا فِيهَا آيَاتٍ بَيِّنَاتٍ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us ayat in this surah, explaining for us so that, or clarifying for us so that we may be of those people who remember. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الزَّانِيَةُ وَالزَّانِي فَجْلِدُوا كُلَّ وَاحِدَةٍ مِّنْهُمَا مِئَةَ الْجَلْدَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then gives us the ruling on the punishment on zina. So the point that we're making here is that the ulama from the majority have said all of these are synonymous with one another. And we find this in the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet. Another example, just to finish off with, the hadith of Ibn Umar. He says, Farada Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam zakat al-fitr. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam obligated using the word fard. But I'm just reading here from a Hanafi book, Mukhtasar al-Quduri. It says, Bab Sadaqat al-fitr wajibah al-hurr al-muslim. Al-hurr al-muslim idha kana malikan li-miqdar. And he goes on to talking about the ahkam of that. So here they're using the word, something which is wajib, when the word fard has been used. So now here in application, there's no real difference whether you call it fard or wajib, even according to the terminology that have been used by the Hanafi ulama. This is not to disrespect or to degrade the usul of the Hanafi madhab, but this is just to say that these terminologies have been used interchangeably, and this is the view of the majority of the ulama, and they don't see any difference between the two. And that for me seems to be the more correct view, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us fiqh of the religion and that He teaches us ta'ween. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على محمد.